If you're traveling abroad this summer, you might be tempted to make a stop at the duty-free shop in the airport. But are the deals you find there really worth it? Joining us with more on that is Kelli Grant, senior consumer reporter for SmartMoney.com. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is actually a tricky thing. Even though the shops are always beautiful and it looks like great deals, it might not necessarily be the case, right?
Pretty much. It really depends pretty widely on the item you're buying, where you're from, and where you're buying it.
Okay, so let's talk about the fine points of all this. The first thing you say is to check customs restrictions. What should you know?
Well, just because you're buying it duty-free doesn't mean you actually get to bring it in duty-free. In most cases, travelers who originate in the U.S. are limited to bringing back $800 worth of purchases and gifts. Any more than that, and you are going to be taxed on at least part of those purchases. And then there are some items which are even more restricted. For example, you can only bring in 2 full-size bottles of alcohol.
And so what should you know specifically about those taxes, the local taxes?
Well, obviously, the higher the taxes are, either in the place where you're buying it or your home state, that's going to make it a better deal. If you're in, say, New Zealand, for example, you're missing out on about 12.5% in taxes. Russia charges a value-added tax of 10 to 18%. But I have a friend in New Hampshire who said, why would I buy alcohol abroad when I don't pay any tax in my home state? So, you want to look at those rates.
Yeah, I do know New Hampshire is a good deal after going to college in Massachusetts. Compare prices. What should you prepare ahead of time so you know if you're getting a good deal or not?
Generally, the people who get the bad deals are the ones who go into the duty-free shop and just go bonkers without checking any of the prices.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it is really close. You're not saving a whole heck of a lot, and then you have the added problem of putting it in your suitcase. So before you go in, or before you even go on your trip, start thinking about things that might show up in duty-free shops, and know the price of your favorite brand of skincare lotion or your perfume, or how many cigarettes that you might want to bring in, so that you know a good deal when you see it.
What about when it comes to souvenirs? Because that sort of seems like a separate category.
That souvenirs really is actually the best thing to buy at duty-free, because if you think about it and you're abroad, you don't really want to buy a U.S. product in, say, Germany, because somebody had to ship it from the U.S. to Germany. So you're actually paying a little bit more for it there than you would here. So you want to look for duty-free, things that are made in the country that you're currently in. So kind of do your shopping at the last minute and bring it in that way.
This last one I find really interesting and complicated, because you really have to plan ahead when it comes to your luggage restriction. Explain how all this works.
You definitely want to think about that when you're flying home, because duty-free, for the most part, if you're doing it at the airport, happens after security. You get to carry those bottles of liquor, the perfume, everything else onto the plane with you, even though it's over the 3 ounces rule. But if you are connecting from an international flight to, you have a domestic flight once you arrive in the U.S., you've got a connection, you have to clear customs and then go back through security to make your domestic flight, which means all that stuff you bought has to be in your checked bag if it's more than 3 ounces of liquid. So make sure that all of that stuff is going to fit in your suitcase, and that it's not going to make it overweight, because overweight bag fees now start at about $50 and range up to almost $200 depending on the airline. Mm-hmm. So that's certainly more than you would have saved by shopping duty-free if you get hit with one of those.
Yeah, you could save money and then get zonked. So.
Exactly.
All right, Kelli Grant, senior consumer reporter for SmartMoney.com. Kelli, as always, thanks.
Thank you.
And remember, we have a lot more consumer and shopping tips on our website. Just go to the up-to-minute page at cbsnews.com and make sure to click on Money Talks.